for 6 years. She's been respected by staff and students. This is a woman who's worked her entire life. Her second job, she did security at Alden Park Manor. Guess what Alden Park Manor did? They laid everybody off, and then hired them back at a lower wage with no benefits. Have we heard this story before?
Yes.
Last night, our governor gave a speech, and I would like to ask him, what kind of safety net is available for people like my former co-worker or like the certified nurse assistants who are demonstrating down the corner outside of Hahnemann? In your speech yesterday, Mr. Corbett, and I quote, you said that welfare, that is taking care of our brothers and sisters, you called it, Mr. Corbett, a narcotic, a subtle destroying of the human spirit. And you said that, Mr. Corbett, from the governor's mansion, where you and your family live with every possible amenity. How dare you? How dare you? Mr. Corbett also called his cutbacks to education brave.
Coward.
He considers himself courageous for cutting back services to the most vulnerable members of society. No wonder society is such a mess when people at the top can rename evil as good and other people believe and support them. Now I have a couple of other adjectives that I would attach to his cutbacks, but they're not repeatable. But the two of them are silly and short-sighted. One cannot build a vibrant economy with people who cannot get a decent education. As we were chanting just a little while ago, our schools have been redlined. We have been stripped of the barest necessities and are still expected to educate our children. This is a deliberate attempt to make schools fail so that they can be sold off to the highest bidders.
That's right.
You watch my words, and if I'm wrong, I'll apologize. The SRC, for all of their alleged transparency, will hire a business person who will be given carte blanche to sell off the portfolio of schools that Mr. Pritchett speaks about so glibly. And speaking of Mr. Pritchett, he had a meeting at my school, Roxborough High School, on Saturday morning, where they tried to discuss the attributes of the new superintendent. Mr. Pritchett, and I'll say again, calls our children portfolios, as if they are a stock option that one may or may not choose to buy. I was unable to attend on Saturday, but one of my co-workers did. She said that people were not permitted to say what they wanted to say. If they didn't follow the party line, they were asked to put their concerns, now wait till you hear this, on a wailing wall.
They actually use the word wailing wall.
We all know what happened to the
They actually used the word wailing wall. And I'm wondering if they paid some PR person to come up with that. When someone asked why teachers and parents were not on the superintendent search committee, they were told to put their concerns on the wall. If they are so transparent, why can't they tell us why they failed to include the people who live the life of education every single day? But they're all big shots on that committee. Mr. Pritchett is a lawyer who never attended public school. He went to Friend Select. I also think he's from New Jersey, but I don't know.
We'll find out.
And then some big shot from Penn. And then someone from the United Way. What would they know about our schools? Why are parents, teachers, and principals not on that search committee?
Right.
And I think we need an explanation My friends, I thought we lived in a child-centered society. I thought the citizens of Philadelphia and Pennsylvania and the United States cared about children. I'm too old to believe that anymore because very few people care about children. Our governor doesn't care about children.
No.
He cares about the businessmen and the oil drillers. Our mayor doesn't care about children. He cares about the bankers who elected him. The SRC doesn't care about children. They're ready to sell us off to the highest bidder. Our children are portfolios. They are statistics. In other words, they are pawns in the hands of the people who are supposed to take care of them. And let us make a point here. Children, all children, not some children, all children are our future. At this point in time, adults are in charge of that future, not the children. The children are not responsible for the mistakes that their elders made, whether it is their own parents or the school district.
True.
And yet, the adults who are supposed to take care of them are balancing the budget on the back of innocent children. What kind of people do this sort of things? What kind of people sell out to oil drillers and don't care for the most vulnerable members of society? Why are people not appalled by what is going on? How are the people in the state colleges who serve the poorest people supposed to survive next year? Why do businesses get all the perks, all the excuses, and all the bailouts? Why is this acceptable? Why do we hear that banks are too big to fail? Education is too big to fail. We are talking about our children. The banks caused this mess. The business people to whom our elected leaders cozied up to caused this mess. The people who got all that money 2 years ago are not creating jobs. They're downsizing. They're outsourcing to Timbuktu. They're restructuring over and over again so that people who once made a decent living with decent salaries are losing everything. And the government simply doesn't care. On Tuesday, I heard that the president was going to give money to the public schools for science education. I have to say I almost fell out of my chair laughing. Because by the time he gets around to giving the money, there won't be any public schools to give the money to.
That's true.
I'm sure that if the mayor or the governor or any member of the SRC lost their heat during the winter or their air conditioning during the summer, they would pay any amount of money to get that working again. And that goes for every other person who can afford heat and air conditioning. Most people will spend any amount of money to fix their cable, their flat screen TV. But those are the same people who don't want to pay to have their children cared for. Where are our priorities? I don't know about you, but my most valued treasure is my children. Normal people and those who act in loco parentis take care of children who are entrusted to their care. They do not leave them out in the cold. I have a petition going around, a vote of no confidence in our governor who is instituting draconian measures that will harm people. His words are insulting, and he should be ashamed of himself.
Recall.
There's no recall in Pennsylvania, unfortunately. This is the best that we can do. Let's continue to tell the SRC that our children are children and not portfolios. Let's demand that parents, teachers, students, and principals be put on the Superintendent Selection Committee. And above all, let us continue to meet and the powers who like to think that they know what's best for us, that we shall not be moved.